welcome back to the channel. Today I actually wanted to talk about something that nobody's really talking about, but I have seriously benefit from this concept, from this type of skill and certain elements that have benefited me in various different ways and have saved my ass so many times. And was also incredibly relevant because I worked on a project recently where I needed to do something, where I was hired to do something, and I needed something. And the thing that I'm going to be talking about, which may not at first, or it may not quite make sense for voiceover, considering what I'm about to show you, but this is just going to be an example of what I'm talking about. The video today, we're talking about the importance of being handy with tools, the importance of making things and craftsmanship, woodworking, various different, tool skills, maybe a little bit of soldering, maybe a little bit of metalwork, even some sewing, some basic, what is it? Textile skills, what have you. Seamstressing. I have no idea. But I can't tell you how many times I've needed to make things. In fact, this booth that I'm in, as though it is incredibly simple and it is basically just PVC and moving blankets, it has very much saved my ass the ability to make things that I need and not have to buy things that I need. Because to buy a lot of the things that you're going to need for voiceover is going to be really expensive. Everything that you're going to need may be really, really expensive. And unless it's, the microphone or the interface, most of it you can probably just make yourself. You don't need to buy a, $3,000 to $10,000 whisper room. You can probably just make a booth like the one I have here. And just make sure that the room outside, or the room, that this booth is in, is well treated. But I've had to make a bunch of different things. I've had to make shock mounts. I've had to make pop filters. I've had to make stands for things. I've had to make mounts for microphones, mounts for screens. I've had to make a lot of things over the years so that I could have the things that I needed. And not every company makes all the things for every possible permutation, for every possible individual person's situation and scenario. So you're going to, at some point in time, need to make something because your living situation, the room that you're going to be recording in, or the closet you're going to be recording in, or the gear that you have, that all those combinations of things are going to be unique. And so there's not going to be like just an Amazon wish list that you can just, and then have everything. You're probably going to have to make something on some level, even if it's incredibly small. So I would definitely recommend that you have a workshop, that you have some kind of workshop, someplace that is, quiet, where you can have a really sturdy table and some shelving that you can put tools on, and you can just make things. Even if it's just, putting rivets in moving blankets. Or even if it's just, drilling holes, or, attaching something to wood, or even if it's just gluing, whatever. You need some place that you can do those things because you're going to need to do that a lot. And I actually had to make something for a film project where I was doing sound for a kind of a pitch project. And I needed to put something together kind of last minute. Now, originally, there was going to be someone else that was going to be involved, that they had their gear and it was more professional gear. That had the sound mixer and the bag and all that kind of stuff. And I don't really own, I own really nice, field recorders and mixers and interfaces and stuff like that, but I don't really have bags to put them in. For example, my preferred or the interface that I own for recording sound on film is a Zoom H6, which is my old one. I actually have a second one now that a friend of mine who was also involved, she was the producer of the film, actually bought me a second one because this one fell and kind of broke, and I wasn't confident if this was going to be usable. It still works with the batteries, but I didn't know what else, because I hadn't run it through its paces since it had been dropped, and you can kind of see you can't really see it, but the USB port is kind of jank now, and there's this crack going across it. So the USB port doesn't work at all, so it can't be used as an interface, and it can't even get charged or be plugged up through the USB port, which is what I prefer doing. I actually prefer mounting this and having a large external battery with a USB cable going into the device so I can record for extended period of time, because these things eat up battery pretty quick. So she bought me a second one. It was very sweet. It was lovely, lovely gift. But it was another Zoom H6. Now, I don't know if you can see this design, but it is not designed to go in a bag, because generally it would go in like this. So if you would be looking down at it like this. You can't get to any of the buttons, you can't get it to any of the dials, and this is now at a really rough angle. You can't really see that. Now, they do have little holes where you can kind of like put some straps through and hang it on your chest, but that's not ideal for doing sound work. They do have other kind of contraptions for this. There's a little kind of case that you can put this in that can then be strapped and velcroed to a boom pole, but again, I can't access it while in use, while using it on the boom pole. So this is a prime example of a situation of a very nice device, a very good, high-quality device that the company itself did not really make things that allowed me to use it the way I needed to use it, especially for this particular project. This is what I own. This is the field recorder that I prefer. It has really nice, really clean preamps. So, that's... it's still really good for film. The thing that a lot of filmmakers don't really like about this is because it doesn't fit in a bag. It's not really designed like other, field recorders or mixers. And so it's got kind of a goofy shape. But I still needed to be able to have that, where it normally would be, kind of like stomach and chest, to have access to the cables, access to the buttons, and to be able to clearly view the screen. So, what I ended up making in basically 48 hours was this contraption right here. Now, technically, I had already been working on this for a while. I just hadn't really made too much progress because it wasn't really something that I needed to make at that time. This strap, the entire strap system, was actually given to me by a company that wanted me to do a review on a kind of photographer's camera mount system. But I'm not a photographer, and they had already sent this to me, and I was like, I can't really review it. And they were like, you can keep it. And that was it. So I never did a video on it. But over the years, I thought of how neat this strap, system was, and I liked it. So, I started thinking about, can I make something for the Zoom H6, something that actually mounted? So what I ended up doing is basically drilling some holes to mount some bolts, some locking bolts and nuts through, and then this small piece of strong but lightweight wood, just basically attaching it with 3 L brackets to the chest, and then putting another L bracket underneath here and kind of dremeling out the hole so that it would be wide enough to put the proper size and threading screw that would then hold the Zoom H6 on. Now, this isn't complete because there was a couple other things. This isn't finished. There's a couple other things that I do want to do to make this a little bit more professional and a little bit more what I would need from it if I was to use this on a more regular case, like use this more often. But as far as the holding it at a 90-degree angle to my chest and attaching the Zoom H6 to it, it works just fine. It works really, really good. And now I can't really put this on my chest for you to be able to, I mean, I guess I can. I'm standing on my tippy toes. But now with it attached and strapped to me, if it was strapped to me, I can see everything that is on the Zoom H6. I can access all the switches. I can get to everything other than the battery pack, but for the most part, it's not that hard to just unscrew this one little bolt, take it off, change the batteries, what have you. Also, I did have a little pouch that was kind of like a tool bag kind of pouch that was underneath, you know, also on my belt, that I had the large battery pack attached to that would also then power the Zoom H6. Now, it's not finished. There's a couple other things that I want to do. I just threw these kind of a lightweight steel or aluminum kind of joints on so that I had something to kind of attach cables and kind of attach lavalier receivers to. But ideally, I would like something that's a little bit more of a threaded friction mount arm kind of thing on the side. And then, because it's only attached by one little bolt on the bottom, this does swivel and pivot. So I need to figure out something that will kind of hold it in place, which is why these are here, to possibly do something like that in the future. But for the most part, this worked just fine. Now, 2 of the 3 days that we shot were done sitting down, locked down, with both characters basically sitting in place, not moving. And I was able to basically just attach my Zoom H6 to a tripod and basically just have the boom pole attached to a C-stand. If this all sounds like gibberish to you, it's totally fine. And then just basically lock everything off and then just be sitting there monitoring it the whole time. But on the last day, I needed to have something that would be mobile because we had some mobile shooting where everything was going to be handheld and the characters were going to be, you know, moving. And so I had to have this. I had to make this. And this is just to showcase what I'm talking about. This is just really to showcase how important these kinds of skills will be. Now, a lot of people going into voice acting, I'm just going to put this down because this is kind of in the way and kind of heavy. A lot of people getting in voice acting thinking they can just buy everything. You can buy everything, but it's not financially advantageous to just buy everything. The things that you really need to spend the most money on are getting those skills. The microphone, the interface, yes, you have to spend some amount of money on. Treating your space, you have to spend money on. And then after that, you really need coaching. You need coaching, or you need to buy access to webinars or handbooks or what have you. That's where you need to spend the money. But you don't need to be constantly spending money on everything. I know a lot of voice actors who spend a lot of money on various different microphones. They buy a lot of microphones. I'm guilty of that as well when I first started because I didn't know what microphone best suited me, and so I was trying a whole bunch of stuff. But then I worked it into doing reviews for you guys and then sold the microphones I didn't need anymore. But things that you don't really need to spend that much money on, you need to be saving money. Because if you're not making money doing voiceover, you shouldn't be spending money where you don't need to. So there's going to be a lot of cases, a lot of situations where it's better for you in the long run and in the current to make it, to just make something. If you need a TV stand, it might be cheaper to just buy the wood and make a stand to mount a TV to than to buy basically one of those standing desks. It could be a whole lot cheaper. And then save the money towards the areas that are actually going to move your career forward. Because if no one can see it, if it doesn't matter what it looks like, or if it's not going to affect the sound, then you don't have to spend money on it. If you can make a studio, if you can make a booth, rather than buying a whisper room, and then save that money towards things like coaching or getting demos, do that. That's way better for you. Absolutely. Also, these skills, you're going to need these skills at some point in time. You're absolutely going to need these skills at some point in time. Something is going to break on you. I've had things fall apart many times. I've had things just flat out, just in use, just collapse. And then I had to fix it, repair it, put it back together, or make something that did the same function. I've had to do that a lot. This is just one of those things that not a lot of early or young voice actors even know that they are going to need to do. But you are. You're absolutely, at some point in time, at some period in your career, you're going to need to make, fix, repair, or just conjure up something. And having those skills and having a workshop where you can make these things is going to benefit you tremendously. Trust me, it absolutely is. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't really have too many examples, at least nothing that I hadn't taken apart and destroyed recently or within the last couple years. Many examples of making stuff that were relevant to voice acting other than, the booth that I'm in. But I think that really kind of summed everything up. Also, I'm really proud of it. It worked really, really well. It worked really good. I'm probably going to do a paint job, finish making it. Yeah, who knows? I might even make stuff like that to sell. Who knows? That's another thing you could do. If there's a need for it, you could make it and then sell it. I mean, heck, it's where the tri-booth or whatever people came from. Like, they're like, there's no small corner fitting booth that, takes up a very small amount of space that works perfectly. Like, we're going to make it. We're going to do it. We're going to sell it. It's where a lot of these companies come from. You could be the next one of those. That's it. That's all I got for you. So, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. Subscribe if you're new, bell for notifications, and leave down in the comments section below. Like to see me cover any other topics. And my email is in the description if you need any specific help or coaching, what have you, demo production. That is also available. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.